So last week I was lucky enough to win a death sting, a really overpowered and rare weapon. Like any self-respecting rogue, I decided to put it to good use by doing what dagger rogues do best, ambushing people and then running away like a coward. Now, as you saw, I had some mixed success to say the least, but I had fun causing a little trouble in Orgrimmar. And because my server's Skeram is 97% horde, there's always plenty of action to be found, but I soon received a somewhat distressing message over Discord. It read, "Thanks for that shitty gank while on Org. 20 gold worth of summons to get all that. Another 5 for DM buff. All I needed were the buffs in Org and I was ready for raid day, and then you had to do this. I wasn't even paying attention. It's really not funny, it's just a really shitty thing to do." This put a damper on things. I couldn't help but feel bad for the guy. I mean, I know this sort of thing is what gankers are supposed to live for, proof you've upset someone so badly that they took the time to contact you outside the game about it. I didn't find any joy in it, though. To be honest, I had no idea this guy was even world buffed, and I didn't really care. That sort of stuff doesn't matter to me, I just enjoy the thrill of the fight. It's personally why I PvP. But people take their world buffs very seriously, as you know, and on a server like Skeram, it presents an interesting dichotomy. You see, the other thing about this guy's message is that it highlights how different his in-game experience is from mine, despite the fact that we play on the same server. I mean, he can pay a few gold to get summoned to his buffs and get them all within minutes. He can rely on regular buffs going out in his capital city. He can AFK with his buffs, or at least he thought he could. And he felt sort of entitled enough to those buffs to chide the person that killed him, which I found very strange. I wonder what would have happened if the thousands of Alliance on Skeram who were camped to the point of quitting the game or transferring did the same thing every time they died. That would have been spamming, I guess, but hey, I really can't blame the guy. I understand, I really do. Losing world buffs sucks, as anyone who gets them knows, and I do get them. Here's the thing, though, as an Alliance player on a faction with 100 or so raiders on a good week, we don't have the same luxuries. We have to get our world buffs the old-fashioned way if we get them at all. There are no summons, no cleared instances, regular buffs don't go out in our capital city, and in fact, we only get a few a week, usually. We aren't excessively careful or anything, but we do exercise basic precautions, which mostly involve some very obvious hiding spots. And as for ganking, that's par for the course. Whenever we go out in the world, there's fighting and fighting and dying again, world buffs or not. Hell, we have to fight our way into a raid every week, and a lot of times we'll lose people going in. I mean, we're not a hardcore guild by any means. And from our perspective, it's to be expected. We don't complain about it because we're used to it. And to be honest, neither the Alliance or the Horde on Skeram have it as bad as people do on other servers. It's pretty calm here, all things considered. That's why it came across as particularly odd when our self-proclaimed official Discord seemed to ban griefing. Griefing the Horde, that is, which is apparently a serious problem here on a server where they outnumber us almost 40-odd to 1. Naturally, this caused a bit of an uproar, and a lot of people poked fun at what appeared to be a somewhat absurd overreaction. To their credit, though, the Discord owners added an Alliance moderator to represent our interests, and clarified that apparently the ban only applied to Dispellers who were specifically abusing the Discord to find out when world buffs went out. And it turns out, at least for the Horde, Dispelling is a major problem. I say for the Horde because it's sort of taken as a given by all parties involved that the Alliance on Skeram can and will be camped, griefed, and indeed dispelled at will. That's PvP happening on a PvP server, of course, and it's been going on for well over a year now. Again, we're used to it. I mean, I was dispelled on multiple characters, both successfully and unsuccessfully during the last Dark Moon Fair week. And our raiders pretty regularly run into the odd shaman or priest who goes on a bit of a spree. You know, sometimes you can't help yourself, but that's the thing. It's regular for us. We're used to it, and it's just part of the experience. For the Horde, it's a bit different. You see, an odd thing has happened. A new crop of players have transferred to or leveled on Skeram. They're not interested in raiding or world PvP per se. They all level the same class. They all have the same basic mission, which is to dispel the Horde. And here's the really strange thing. Almost all of the griefers are Skeram Horde themselves. Yes, the the dispelling meta on Skeram is the Horde dispelling each other in an ever-escalating arms race without end. I've taken the time to speak to most of these priests. I'm a pretty curious guy, and it turns out they each belong to a particular guild and have particular guilds that they target. It's interfactional rivalry that has taken a dark turn as our tiny faction has been transformed into this weapon wielded by the Horde against each other. From what I've seen, attempts to resolve the issue have been largely ineffectual and misdirected. For instance, banning Alliance on the Discord from seeing the Horde world buff timers, which does nothing to stop the Dispellers themselves, who are all Horde, from seeing the timers, but does stop the few real Alliance raiders from being able to find out when things like ZG and Rend are dropped. Now, of course, we must recall that our buffs aren't the issue here, right? That's just PvP happening on a PvP server. Nobody really cares. What really matters is that for the first time ever, the Horde on Skeram are facing a PvP problem that can't be solved through sheer numbers. You can't overwhelm the Dispellers, you can't camp them, you can't even retaliate, really, aside from contributing to the issue by doing the same thing to their Horde guild, if you can even find out which guild it is. You could just start dispelling the Alliance instead out of spite, but we're already used to getting dispelled and killed pretty regularly, and most of us don't even get world buffs in the first place, to be honest. So what are you left with? What was once a cozy pseudo-PvE server for the Horde has turned into this treacherous landscape where one wrong turn finds you face-to-face with a Night Elf priest spamming a barely intelligible macro as he removes your Songflower. This isn't real PvP, you think? Do you remember those hallowed Phase 2 days when you and 200 of your closest friends could camp Blackrock Mountain in peace? Now this. What happened? Obviously I'm being a bit hyperbolic, as this Redditor rightly points out. Most Horde on Skeram don't really care and just mind their own business. But some people do really care. And that's what makes it a fascinating situation from a purely sociological perspective, if you want to think about it that way. It's made all the more compelling by the incredibly skewed faction balance on Skeram, which actually encourages this intra-factional strife and leads to the disproportionate targeting of the majority side, which is really unusual as far as classic PvP goes. Now, recently the one Alliance moderator on the Discord, Lil Peepee as he's known, was removed for supposedly being in league with the Dispellers. he was put under investigation, was the words that they used by the server's owners, and eventually found innocent. And although Lil Peepee himself doesn't support the Dispellers, the Dispellers did support him. They threatened to intensify their efforts should he not receive his moderator privileges back. The whole situation was honestly hilarious. And it's sort of got this Streisand effect thing going on too, where the more effort is made to stop the dispelling, the more intense it gets. Every other day now, it seems, we get another 60 priest or two transferring in, and I can guarantee you they aren't here to raid, although if they were, we'd happily take them. If the devil himself could fear ward our tank, we'd bring him to every AQ, which sort of sums up my and most of the actual Alliance's feelings about the whole thing, I think. We aren't necessarily out dispelling anyone, and we don't necessarily approve of it entirely, but we don't really care too much either. We've got enough on our plates as it is, and having dealt with some of the most extreme forms of griefing imaginable, these complaints over a bit of dispelling come across as special pleading. That being said, maybe I will get that out on the show's world buffs, not so I can grief, but so I can keep an eye out and maybe stop myself from ruining someone's night like that poor guy who messaged me. From from now on, I think I'll stick to two-shotting undergeared mage gold farmer alts. That's more my speed. You know, there's an infinite supply of those these days, and it's really a victimless crime.